After 50, you've entered a stage of life where wisdom meets wear and tear. Your mornings might feel slower, your energy not as sharp as it once was, and your muscles don't respond to a workout the way they did in your 30s. You might chalk it up to just getting older, but beneath the surface, something quieter and far more influential is at work: the hidden hormone shift. Testosterone, the hormone most men associate with vitality, strength, and even their sense of masculinity, starts to decline gradually, usually by about 1% per year through your 40s. That sounds small, almost trivial, right? But after a decade or more, the difference becomes noticeable. Suddenly, the guy who once sprinted up the stairs is now catching his breath halfway, or the man who never had trouble focusing finds his thoughts scattered like papers in the wind. Here's the odd detail: testosterone isn't only about sex drive and muscles. It even regulates how your red blood cells form, how your bones stay strong, and how your body manages fat. In fact, ancient healers in Greece once believed men's vitality was tied to fire in the blood, and they weren't entirely wrong. Hormones are the invisible fire, but testosterone doesn't fall alone. Cortisol, the stress hormone, often creeps upward with age. That creates a double whammy. The hormone of vitality decreases, while the hormone of stress increases. No wonder you might feel drained even after a full night's sleep, or crave that third cup of coffee before noon. Now, here's where it gets a little controversial. Some researchers argue that these hormone changes aren't the cause of aging at all, they were just markers, like gray hair or wrinkles. Others insist that actively managing testosterone and stress hormones can add years of quality living, not just years on the calendar. The debate is ongoing. Are you simply destined to fade, or do you still have power in the driver's seat? And let's be honest, you probably know a buddy who jokes about needing an afternoon nap, or complains about losing his edge, and you laugh it off. Humor helps. Think of it like that crocodile poop sunscreen the ancient Egyptians used. Sounds ridiculous now, but people thought it worked. The truth is, men often cover up serious concerns with jokes, when really, the silent shift deserves attention. So here's the first lesson: the hidden shift is real, it's hormonal, and it affects nearly every man past 50, whether he talks about it or not. Acknowledging it isn't weakness, it's the first step toward reclaiming control. Before we dive in, if you find these insights helpful for your strength and confidence after 50, I'd be grateful if you hit the like button and subscribe. Your support gives me the drive to keep bringing you powerful lessons to stay. And while we re-edit, drop a comment below with your location and what time it is as you re-watching this. It's always amazing to see this community of men from all over the world connecting in real time. The hidden hormone shift doesn't just stay tucked away in your bloodwork, it shows up on your body like an uninvited guest that refuses to leave. You look in the mirror and notice your belly sticking out a little more, even though you swear you haven't changed your eating habits. Your shirts feel tighter in the middle, but looser around the arms. You wake up groggy, even though you thought you got a full night's rest. These are the dominoes falling, one after another, from low testosterone and shifting hormone balance. Here's the fact: men with lower testosterone tend to carry more visceral fat, the dangerous kind of belly fat that wraps around your organs. It's not just about how your genes fit. This fat releases its own hormones that mess further with metabolism. It's like your body is staging a mutiny from the inside. Meanwhile, muscle mass quietly erodes. You might notice that lifting the same grocery bags feels heavier, or that carrying your grandkid leaves you winded. Muscle fibers actually shrink when testosterone is low, and recovery from workouts drags on longer than you'd expect. One unusual detail that surprises many men: hormone changes also affect sleep. Lower testosterone and higher cortisol can mess up your circadian rhythm. That's why you might wake up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, replaying yesterday's conversations, or stressing about tomorrow's tasks. It's not just nerves. Your body's chemistry is running interference on your rest. The question scientists often ask is this: Is it possible to separate what's just aging from what's hormonal? For example, is it inevitable that your belly expands after 50, or is it simply a sign your body needs hormone balance? The debate is still alive in medical circles, and that uncertainty leaves many men in limbo. Think of it like a row of dominoes. One tiny push the hormone shift sets everything else in motion. Fatigue leads to less activity, which leads to weight gain, which leads to more sleep problems, which then sap motivation. Before long, you're in a cycle you didn't sign up for. And let's be real, no one over 50 wants to become that guy who groans every time he stands up from the couch. You've seen him, maybe in your own family gatherings, and you silently think, not me, not yet. Here's where a little humor helps. You might joke that your belly is just a fuel tank for a love machine, or that you're finally rocking the dad bod deluxe. Sure, it gets a laugh, but the truth is, you deserve better than laughing off what's really your body crying out for attention. So the lesson here is simple. Hormones set the tone, but lifestyle amplifies the volume. If you ignore the domino effect, your body will keep knocking them down. If you pay attention, you can steady the line and even rebuild. When hormones shift, it's not just your body that takes the hit, your mind feels it, too. You might sit at your desk staring at the computer, unable to remember why you opened the browser in the first place. Or, you find yourself snapping at your partner over something small, then later wondering, why did I get so worked up? This isn't losing your temper, it's the hormone shift quietly tugging at your emotional wiring. Testosterone plays a role in mood stability, motivation, and even memory. As levels decline, you may notice a dip in confidence, almost like you're no longer in command of the same engine that used to power your life. And when cortisol, the stress hormone, stays elevated, it's like a background alarm that never shuts off. You feel restless, irritable, and sometimes even anxious. Some men describe it as a low hum of frustration, like a phone buzzing on the counter that you can't turn off. Here's a surprising detail. Researchers have found that low testosterone in men can sometimes mimic mild depression. Symptoms like low energy, brain fog, and disinterest in things you used to enjoy aren't always just getting older. They can be biochemical signals. In fact, some doctors now screen for hormone levels when men report mood swings or memory lapses. But there's still debate. Do low hormones cause depression and cognitive decline? Or are they just companions walking the same path? Nobody fully agrees, which leads to a very human, very real question. Are you actually sad? Or are your hormones playing tricks on your brain? It's easy to laugh this off with a light-hearted joke. Maybe you call it senior moments when you forget your keys in the fridge. Or you joke that you've gone from being alpha male to beta buffering. Humor softens the frustration, but it doesn't erase it. And let's not ignore intimacy. A silent side effect of hormone imbalance is lower desire or performance anxiety. You might still want the connection, but your body isn't cooperating. That can take a toll on relationships and self-esteem. Is masturbation okay after 50, especially when hormone levels dip? Some say it helps maintain function. Others argue it drains energy that could be better managed. The academic debate continues, but the important part is this: you deserve to feel confident and connected, both mentally and physically. The lesson here: your hormones don't just sculpt your body, they sculpt your sense of self. If you've been blaming yourself for being lazy, forgetful, or grumpy, pause. It might not be about discipline or character. It might be chemistry. Recognizing that doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise enough to separate what's you from what's biological interference. And if there's one thought to carry forward, it's this: protecting your mind after 50 is just as important as protecting your muscles. Because when your mind stays sharp, you still run the show. The real danger of the silent hormone shift isn't just the day-to-day fatigue, mood swings, or belly fat. It's the long-term risks that most men overlook until it's too late. Hormones may seem invisible, but their absence leaves fingerprints everywhere in your health. One fact that shocks many men is bone density. You've heard of osteoporosis in women, but did you know men over 50 face nearly the same risk when testosterone drops? Low testosterone weakens bones quietly. You won't notice it until you trip, fall, and suddenly a simple stumble turns into a fracture. Hip fractures in older men can be life-threatening, yet very few men ever connect that risk back to hormones. And that's just one domino. Low testosterone is also linked to insulin resistance, which means your body has a harder time processing sugar. Over time, this increases your risk for type 2 diabetes. Combine that with extra belly fat and poor sleep, and you've got a recipe for creeping blood sugar levels that you may not even notice until your doctor calls you in after a blood test. Then there's your heart. Testosterone interacts with blood vessels and cholesterol balance. When levels are low, risks for heart disease climb. And here's the odd twist. For decades, many doctors avoided testosterone therapy because they feared it caused heart problems. But now, some studies suggest the opposite, that properly monitored testosterone may actually protect the heart. The debate rages on, and you're left wondering, am I safer doing nothing, or safer addressing the shift head-on? Let's not forget about weight gain and inflammation. Belly fat itself, in just storage, it's an active tissue that pumps out inflammatory chemicals. That inflammation fuels arthritis, joint pain, and fatigue. So, when your knees hurt climbing stairs, it may not be just old age creaks. It could be hormones stirring the pot. Think about it like an iceberg. On the surface, you see a little fatigue, a little weight gain. But underneath lies the massive structure, bone loss, diabetes, heart risk. Most men don't see it until it's too late. And because hormone health still carries a stigma, many don't get tested or treated. They shrug it off, they joke, I'm just a classic old man now. But ignoring it is like ignoring a leaking roof. It may not collapse today, but eventually, the damage will show. Here's a bit of levity. You know those commercials where men suddenly start chopping wood, driving convertibles, and wrestling grizzly bears after taking a miracle pill. Let's be real. No pill turns you into a lumberjack overnight. But hormones do shape your body's foundation. And if that foundation crumbles, no sports car will fix it. So the lesson is clear. Ignoring the hormone shift isn't harmless. It's an open door to some of the biggest killers of men over 50. Addressing it doesn't just mean better mornings or stronger muscles. It could literally mean the difference between living well into your 80s and struggling through your 60s. Here's the tricky part. How do you know whether what you're re-feeling is just aging or something more specific, like hormone imbalance? That's the million-dollar question most men wrestle with silently. You forget names, gain a little belly, or lose some energy. Everyone around you shrugs and says, well, that's what happens when you hit 50. But is it really? Here's a fact. Not all changes after 50 are inevitable. Some men in their 60s run marathons, lift weights, and maintain sharp mental clarity. Others at the same age feel sluggish, achy, and checked out. What separates the two isn't just genetics, it's how they respond to the silent signals their bodies are giving them. The unusual detail is that symptoms of hormone imbalance and natural aging overlap so much, even doctors can mistake one for the other. For example, if you're tired, is it because your testosterone is low, your thyroid is slowing down, or you've simply been burning the candle at both ends? If your mood dips, is it a chemical imbalance, or are you just frustrated with life changes like retirement or an empty nest? There's no simple checklist, which is why so many men suffer in silence. And let's not shy away from the intimate side. If intimacy feels less satisfying, is that due to hormones, or just normal changes in circulation and nerve sensitivity as you age? Is masturbation after 50 still healthy maintenance, or does it signal deeper imbalance? Experts debate it, and there isn't one final answer. What matters is paying attention to whether your body feels connected or disconnected from your desire. The danger is when you brush it all off as just aging. That mindset robs you of options. If you believe fatigue is inevitable, you won't test your hormones. If you think belly fat is just dad bod, you won't address the deeper metabolic shift. If you assume forgetfulness is normal, you won't ask about testosterone or cortisol testing. And here's the hard truth: the more you ignore, the faster the spiral spins. Here's where I'll lighten it up. Yes, we all age, but blaming everything on age is like blaming every bad dinner on the oven. Sometimes it's the recipe. Sometimes it's the cook. Sometimes, yeah, the oven is getting old. But usually, it's more complicated than that. So, the lesson here: don't confuse aging with imbalance. Your body after 50 is like a car that's been on the road for decades. It's still capable of amazing performance, but it needs a tune-up, better fuel, and regular checks under the hood. Just because you're older doesn't mean every issue is normal. It might be fixable. And that difference between assuming it's too late and realizing you still have choices can define the quality of your next 30 years.